Hi, my name is Robert, and I'm a writer. And I'd like to share with you some of my children's stories. So from time to time, I'm going to be adding my books, and I also write poetry, and I hope you like it. My first one, which I wrote a few years ago, is called The Worceracs. I was brought up in New York. I was a very big Dr. Seuss fan. I loved his books, and I hope you like mine. So here's the story. Story of the Worceracs. Our story begins in the town of Chancer, up on the hill, quite a distance from Bancer. Mining metal was the town's daily task, but over the years, questions have been asked. Like, how did the legend of the giant get started? And why was his name so secretly guarded? How has he lived on the hill all these years? Without food or water, it's still unclear. Between weeping willows and shrubs up there, nobody has seen him. No one has dared. He's called the Worceracs, and some people say he's 100 years old, if he's only a day. So why was he up there? Is he as big as they claim? Where is he from, and what's with his name? No one has climbed up his hill yet to spy, in fear of the giant's reply to their try. Now some might tell you that he's from outer space and was left on this hill in total disgrace, waiting and waiting all these years for his friends to come back and get him. But then it depends if indeed he was guilty and now he is cleansed. Townspeople have studied him by taking their seats and waiting long hours to see what he eats. They've left fruits and candy and even some pies for a peek at him eating, or at least when he tries, a helping or two of one of their pies. But those who have waited have been very perplexed. Their food's never eaten, what should they do next? Results of their tries have been inscribed in town texts. One day a family drove in from Bancer and moved right into the east side of Chancer. Their youngest girl, whose name was Shilly, liked to explore things no matter how silly. She made many friends in town and in school. Then one day she learned about something quite cool, something she'd search for if it was the last thing she'd do. Shilly had discovered the town's unsolved case, so the Worceracs became her race and a chase. Like a cool private eye with nothing to lose, Shilly began searching for all of the clues. Who was this Worceracs, and what did he prove? She first questioned all those in town that day, but most knew bupkis or weren't willing to say who the Worceracs was and if he was true, so Shilly continued to hunt for a clue. Was the giant a myth? Was the giant a myth? Shilly wasn't sure. Or was he really from the planet Nick Moore? Feeling she needed help finding the answer, Shilly teamed up with the town's only dancer, a boy who was known as Petey the Prancer. Together they would search for the unknown answer. So they called all those who had moved away in hopes that they would have something to say about the giant who lived on the hill, but they had no luck and were clueless still. So they examined the books which kept town history and found old reports on the giant's mystery. They asked the town elders if a name they had traced was a clue in the giant's puzzling case, and with no response, they took off for his place. At the far end of town, on the edge of the creek, lived the eldest elder, very old, very weak, alone in his shack, a hermit, a freak. He was Miko, the eldest, and from Chancer's start, lived long before giants were seen in these parts. So the kids hiked over to Miko's shack, a very long journey, but they never looked back. They questioned Miko and felt assured that he did have the answers, but they were ignored. Why, they wondered, did Miko stay silent, leaving his shack still in doubt with the giant? Did Miko the eldest indeed have the answer? The one seeked by Shilly and Petey the Prancer? Just what did he know about the giant that was so important to remain so silent? When they returned home, they received a letter. Was their luck now changing for the better? Who was it from, and why was it sent? And what did it really represent? Was someone helping them solve this case, or leading them on a wild goose chase? A map was included which led to a cave, but warned not to go if they weren't brave. Shilly and Petey would not hesitate. If the answer was there, then they couldn't wait. So again they were off, but this time to a mysterious cave to find their clue. They traveled northeast, so far from town, to a place known as Marquesh Jown. Their trip had proved that they sure were brave, but they found no answers inside the cave. Now really confused and without a trace, felt the only way possible to solve this case was to seek out the giant face to face. They knew exactly what they had to do, get the Worceracs to tell them what he knew. Why was he up there? Did he have a clue? The town was up early the very next day. As the kids prepared to go on their way, Shilly and Petey the Prancer took aim for answers that Chancer had been waiting to claim up on their hill on Matty Rose Lane. They both began wondering while making their climb after hopping the gate overlooking the mine. Shilly and Petey had two big concerns. Would they get their answer and still return? When they reached the giant, they could only stare, 'cause he couldn't answer what, when, how, and where. How would this mystery ever be unwound if what they needed just could not be found? Would Chancer continue to remain unaware for the Worcerac's reason for being up there? Now all the townspeople gathered around as Shilly and Petey the Prancer came down. Before they knew it, they were fully surrounded. Questions and answers were hounded and pounded. What could they say? What should they do? Tell the whole town what little they knew? Both seemed worried as the crowd grew and grew. Then Shilly looked up, and she winked her eye at the one person with answers who now had arrived. She whispered to Petey, who looked very tense, then faced the whole town with renewed confidence. We're all here today to learn of our history, 'cause it's time to reveal the giant's mystery. Who better to explain it than the one who was there and has kept this secret all of these years? The crowd became hushed, and the crowd was unclear, but in their confusion, it was Miko that appeared. I've lived in Chancer through its history and have held the answers to the town mystery. When I was a boy, so young and so small, this town wasn't doing very well at all. So the elders made up a very big secret and told the whole town never to repeat it. I sent these boys on a wild goose chase just to see how far they would go in this case. They proved they were brave, and that's what they've shown, but all that they did was prove what I'd known. 'Cause I promised myself to confess from the start if just one brave soul faced fear in their heart, to go out of their way to find the answer, like Shilly did with Petey the Prancer. After all these years with the town so content, here's the truth of the giant and what it all meant. The Worceracs story is unique, you see, because he's not a person like you or me, and he's not an alien, I guarantee. When Chancer was broke many years ago, most of the townspeople just decided to go. So the elders felt that they needed something to bestow to attract more miners, or the town wouldn't grow. By building a giant over 10 feet tall, they used the mine's metal so he'd never fall. Placed on this hill when the food ran low, he protected our corn row after row. which fed hungry miners so work wouldn't slow. Giant tales started, but more miners came. Chancer began booming, all because of his name. Who was the Worceracs? It's so simple, you know. Just spell his name backwards. The Scarecrow. Thanks a lot for listening. I will put some information towards my MySpace over here, I think. And I look forward to seeing you on my next children's story. Thanks a lot.